The world stands at a precarious juncture. Decisions made today regarding global health initiatives have far-reaching implications. One such decision, the reduction of US foreign aid, has sent ripples of concern throughout the global health community. Of particular concern is the impact on HIV treatment programs in vulnerable countries. The World Health Organization has issued a stark warning. 8 countries are at imminent risk of depleting their HIV treatment supplies. These 8 countries, Haiti, Kenya, Lesotho, South Sudan, Burkina Faso, Mali, Nigeria and Ukraine, rely heavily on US support for their HIV programs. The provision of antiretroviral therapies critical for suppressing the virus and preventing its transmission is now in jeopardy. This disruption in the supply chain has the potential to unravel decades of progress in the fight against HIV. The consequences of such a reversal are dire, with millions of lives hanging in the balance. The WHO estimates that the interruption of HIV treatment could result in a surge of new infections. Over 10 million additional cases of HIV could emerge, erasing years of hard-won gains. Furthermore, the absence of consistent treatment could lead to a resurgence of AIDS-related illnesses. This could translate into an additional 3 million deaths from AIDS-related complications. The human toll of these funding cuts is immeasurable, threatening to plunge millions back into a cycle of suffering and despair. The potential unraveling of HIV treatment programs is not merely a statistical projection. It is a human tragedy unfolding in real time. Imagine a young mother in Lesotho, diligently adhering to her HIV treatment regimen, now facing the agonizing prospect of her medication running out. Imagine a child in Haiti born HIV-free due to preventative measures, now at risk of contracting the virus. These are not hypothetical scenarios, but the lived realities of individuals in these 8 nations. The WHO has been a leading voice in raising awareness about this impending crisis. Its warnings, however, have been met with insufficient urgency. The global community must recognize that the fight against HIV requires sustained commitment and investment. These recent funding cuts threaten to undermine the very foundation of global health infrastructure painstakingly built over decades. The consequences of inaction are simply too grave to ignore. The situation extends beyond these 8 countries. The ripple effects of US foreign aid cuts are being felt globally, weakening health systems and jeopardizing progress in combating other infectious diseases. Polio eradication efforts, for instance, are facing renewed challenges. Malaria control programs, which have made significant strides in recent years, are now at risk of backsliding. Tuberculosis, a disease that disproportionately affects vulnerable populations, is also experiencing a resurgence due to treatment disruptions. The interconnectedness of global health cannot be overstated. A setback in one area can have cascading consequences across the entire system. The current crisis exemplifies this interconnectedness. As funding for HIV programs dwindles, so too does the capacity to address other pressing health concerns. This is evident in the plight of the Global Measles and Rubella Laboratory Network. This vital network, responsible for monitoring and responding to measles outbreaks worldwide, is now on the verge of collapse. The irony is that this comes at a time when the United States is experiencing a resurgence in measles cases. The dismantling of this global surveillance system will not only hinder the ability to contain outbreaks in vulnerable countries, but also increase the risk of measles spreading back to the United States. This highlights the short-sightedness of viewing global health through a narrow lens. Investing in global health security is not merely an act of charity, it is an investment in our own well-being. The situation in Afghanistan further underscores the devastating consequences of these funding cuts. The WHO has reported that 80% of essential health services in Afghanistan are at risk of closure due to funding shortfalls. This translates to over 167 health facilities already shuttered, with an additional 220 at risk of closure in the coming months. The Afghan people, already grappling with political instability and humanitarian crises, are now facing a collapsing healthcare system. The most vulnerable among them, pregnant women, children, and those with chronic illnesses, bear the brunt of this crisis. The current global health crisis demands immediate and decisive action. While the reduction of US foreign aid has undoubtedly exacerbated the situation, it is crucial to approach this issue with nuance and a commitment to finding sustainable solutions. Blaming and finger-pointing will not save lives. Collaborative action is needed. The international community, governments, multilateral organizations, and civil society must come together to address this funding gap and ensure continuity of essential health services. A responsible withdrawal of funding, as advocated by the WHO, is not about abruptly pulling the plug on vital programs. It is about working in partnership with affected countries to identify alternative funding sources, strengthen local health systems, and ensure a smooth transition. This requires a long-term commitment and a recognition that global health is not a luxury, but a fundamental human right. The WHO itself is facing significant budget cuts, forcing it to make difficult choices. The organization has already implemented a hiring freeze and is scaling back its emergency operations funding. These cuts will undoubtedly hinder its ability to respond effectively to global health emergencies. The current crisis is a wake-up call, a stark reminder that global health is fragile and requires sustained investment and commitment. The choices made today will have lasting consequences for millions around the world. We must choose wisely, prioritizing human life and well-being above all else. The time for action is now.